didn't work. Oh, yes, it did. All right, good peoples. Let's jump in here. And I do not have what I need on my other sheet. I just figured that out because I wiped it out. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'll recopy it. Sorry, guys, I'm talking and I'm doing something over on my second monitor so I can drag it over and show you. All right, I'm ready. All right, what happened with BitO and Ybit? Well, Ybit was down 23 cents from 1431 to 1408, so 1.61. Well, BitO, and people always say, oh, well, it just can't keep up with BitO. It doesn't, there's times it does. Neither one of them are doing very well, to be honest. Um, so it went down 3.3%. Why? Well, we're not capped at all, right? Although we're not that far under that we couldn't be if BitO takes off. But they did have shares bought, 225,000 shares, and they used that money kind of interesting. So that put in, they wrote a call here for 1,600 and they got 28.8, not much money. But what they did was they went over and they wrote a 28. Well, that's their current synthetic. But what is BitO trading at? $19.20. Let me just make sure. Yeah, $19.20. So again, that's what they've been doing. I'm going to start calling them Ybit Powell after Jerome Powell because they're just kicking the can down the road. It's just going to be a loss, and they want to collect capital until, and then not do anything with that capital, not pay us out a lot because they got the paper liability. So it's starting to become useless. It's just an exercise of what's the word I'm looking for? Basically nothing, right? Futility. It's an exercise in futility. Just they're getting nothing out of it. We're getting nothing out of it. The NAV is eroding on the fund. Poorly, very poorly. And this was probably, I would rate it as a science experiment like Ulti. Different. They wanted to capitalize on the popularity of Bitcoin. People bought it today. But is it a good performing fund? No. Was I optimistic on it when it inception? Yes. But it's not working. It's pretty darn clear that it's not working. So the problem is, even if BitO just took off, and what's going to cause BitO to take off? BTC takes off. What happens? We get capped, right? And then after a surge up, it tends to surge back down. That's why you have a high IV. And we do poorly on the down, and then we're doing poorly on the up. So what does that tell us we're doing? It's an exercise in futility. We're performing poorly. So the only way is a 3 to 5% gain, multiple weeks stacked on top of each other, and writing their calls out 4 or 5%. Then we make money on the calls, and we just keep moving forward on our synthetic. But they write these ridiculous, super high out of the money strikes so that they can collect money. And then all they do is hold the money because they have a paper loss that they can't really pay it all out. And it's just sort of frustrating to watch it go on now for 4 months or whatever period of time it's gone on. So let's go over and look at the weekly. Oh, sorry, I didn't show you. Oh, my bad. So here's what they're doing. Look at the expiration, 8/16/2024. When is that, peoples? Friday, right? This is Monday. So what did Amazon do? They closed out their last 8/16 contract, and they've been writing into a 10/18 on their future ones, much closer to the current price. Well, Ybit doesn't do that. It's still writing because it got money in. People bought into the fund, 225,000 shares, so they needed to go put synthetics on. Why not go write a 920 or a 1018, 24 or 23, something closer? Well, I can tell you probably why now, because they collect money on this, but what you giveth, you take away within tomorrow or the next day or the day after, right? So they bought the call for a penny, they sold the put for $8.50. Wonderful if you can collect that kind of money. But all you did was take the cash and you got a ledger, right? You got a liability that you got to settle in 4 days. So what do you think the odds are of BITO going to $28 in 4 trading days? Slim to none. In any book, any odds that I would give it. So I don't understand the logic. Just reporting, peoples. Just don't shoot the messenger. All right. So we added, now on our call that we sold, remember, we always match the quantity, right? So we sold short. Nothing wrong there. They went to a 2050 and they didn't get much money, but so what? There's not much money to get. It's not like they wrote it, you know, 8 cents above where they wrote it. They wrote $1.30 above where they are. It's not bad for 4 trading days. So they got a little cash, and it's 6.77% above where BITO is. So, it doesn't seem to be any issue with writing that call. My issue is with the synthetics. Because, so let's go over then and look. How are they doing on their weekly? They're doing pretty good, right? Because they're not up to, they were already had a bunch of contracts at, whoops, this is not updated. That is now 33,130 because they just added some today. And I need to add the collected to that. It's tiny, it's 28,000 people, but hey, every little bit helps. I added it already in the payouts, but I didn't add it here. So we got 18 cents and it closed at 14 cents. But we had a whole bunch of contracts before that we got more money for, right? So we collected 943. So they're doing their job on that part, but let me show you. So let me run through a couple things fast. So here's the share count, NAV. What did we close at? 1408, and it's worth 1405. Here's your synthetic. Okay. So it remains ugly. Why is it ugly? Because it's so far out of the money. It's a loser. But they collected cash. Okay. So let's go take a look. Here's where you're going to see it. With your first glance at payouts, it looks good, right? We're 1 week done and starting the second week after collecting money. So, if we had 52 cents in the door and we didn't have any liability here, we're on our way to making $1.50. But not when they've got to close this out in 4 days. They might even close it tomorrow. Like I said, most of the synthetics, when you go into the final week, they usually close them on the Friday before or the Monday, maybe on the Tuesday. Here they are writing another one on Monday. I get why it gives them cash, but it makes no sense. It's like, you really need money and I loan you $10, but you got to pay the $10 and some interest back to me in 4 days. I mean, they're not paying us. I don't know what they need the money for, in all honesty, because the odds of them are slim and none to get to 28. So having 52 cents is wonderful, right? If we win this week, that's where all the money's coming from. We already have a little bit of synthetic money. And did that pick up the additional synthetic? Let me just make sure. It should have. Yep, 1.358. It sure did. Because that's where I add it right here, the 1 cent and the 8.5, right? So it's 1,360,000 minus the 1,600, which is what this is. Okay. So let's further look at payouts. And let's do the math for you. So how many of you can figure that if you divide 4.5, okay, if I multiplied $6, 6 times 4 is 24, and another 26.5. So it's over $6. So $6, and doesn't make any sense for me to add it up, but it's over $6. So you got a $6 and change loss coming up. Do you know what that's going to do when it gets over here? It's going to make this be a plus $5.60 or 70 cents. And so we're going to be getting, 25 cents a week to knock it down. And that ain't working, right? And taking you back, that's what they started this fund doing. Remember, I was the one who said, they collected $6.60. I think they could pay us $2.50, even though I knew they had a big paper loss that was equal to that $6. And they showed me they paid $1.37. Everybody said, Bruce, man, you were really off on that one. I was. I didn't know how they were going to play it, but now I know how they're going to play it, right? We came along and we collected 788 and 74. We were winning our weeklies and we were writing these really high calls, and they paid us $1.21. And then this time we were losing over here, and we didn't make any money on our weeklies. And so they said, oh, you bad guys are going to pay you 67 cents. Now, granted, the NAV is going down. These yields were probably equal. This one is a little bit of a drop. I thought they were going to pay 90 cents or $1 or $1.04, because they've got cash left from before, but they also have a $6 liability. So it's just kind of fascinating, but I don't see how this fund gets well. Well, the only way this fund gets well is a 3 to 5% steady increase in BTC, which does the same for BITO, which does the same for Ybit. They win their weeklies by writing far enough out, 4 or 5%, and then our synthetic is growing and making money, because the synthetic is nothing but long the underlying. You want BITO to go as high as it can go, but the weekly call is your insurance policy, where you made a negative bet. You only want it to go up a little bit and harvest money. And the minute it blows by there, you're eating up most of your profit that the synthetic got by being long. So these big downturns, you get 95% of the downturn move while you collect some income. And then on a big up move, you don't get much of the up move. So these income funds aren't always delightful, people, just being honest with you. They can be fabulous. And some of the Bitcoin, when NVIDIA's running just right, but you saw what happened to NVIDIA with $1.25. All those people out there that were used to 250, 260, just go back and look at what NVIDIA did for 8 or 9 months. It was probably averaging 40 cents. So there's no magic sauce here. You've got to have a market that's moving up within reason, and the fund managers have enough high IV and they're riding ahead enough to survive that uplift. So there's a unique set of circumstances. Otherwise, Yieldmax is not going to be doing very well in a lot of these funds. You do not want to be in high yield funds when the market is going against you and going down, because all those people think that it's only ROI and it's not about total return. And those guys that are on margin on top of that, good luck. That's all I got to say. Those margin calls are nasty, and they come quick, and they're ugly. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. I wish it was better, okay? Are you still going to get paid something? Is it a 40 to 50%, 60% yield? Yeah. But is that what you're chasing when you've got the same in the NAV loss? Just go buy a growth stock that pays a 3% dividend, and hopefully it's flat all year and you got a net 3. Because if you're getting a 63 cent or 63% yield and you got a 60% NAV loss, what have you gained? You've gained 3%. You tell me it's any different than a growth stock that's paying 3% dividend quarterly or something. I mean, you could argue in these that once a month you get the use of the dividend money. But total return is total return. It's calculated for a reason, peoples. Okay, that's what I got for you. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Have a good one. Bye for now.